Hey guys, Bullhorn Betty. It's nice to see you guys this evening. It's been a few hours since I've been on and just wanted to come here. We're talking about Sebastian Rogers. It's nice to see you guys. We're talking about Sebastian Rogers. He's a 15-year-old child that disappeared from his home in Hendersonville, Tennessee, from a locked home where he was residing with only his mother, according to the family statements. But sorry guys, that's my dog playing with her toy. Of all times to do that. Sorry guys, for those that are just coming in, I'm Bullhorn Betty, and obviously my sidekick, Delilah Bullhorn, is enjoying herself in one of her toys. She just took me off guard, sorry. But anyways, he was inside his home. According to his mother, he went to bed around 9 p.m. The house was locked, windows were locked, doors were locked. And when she woke up, the windows were locked, the doors were locked, everything was locked, but he was gone. And so everything is kind of like the rest is history. Now, we know things aren't right, especially with Katie Proudfoot disappearing 2 weeks after her son disappeared. She ended up, her and her husband, Chris Proudfoot, took off and went to a completely different state, which caused many of us to kind of question what is really going on here, because they weren't acting like parents of missing children. And it was becoming very, very, very noticeable. And so we have been kind of, going down this whole realm of what could have happened with Sebastian Rogers. We've looked at the abduction theory. We've looked at him leaving the house and then meeting with foul play theory. We've looked at, the ninja theory. We looked at the UFO theory. And we've also looked at the mom and stepfather theory. And of course, the mom and stepfather are the ones that are having the most weight when we're looking at this case factually and from what all we know from law enforcement. And while we don't know a whole lot, we do know he disappeared from inside a locked home. According to law enforcement, there is no evidence that this child walked out of that home. They cannot determine how he left the home, as a matter of fact, which has got a lot of people very much concerned and worried for the well-being of Sebastian Rogers. Now, the kicker here is Chris Proudfoot, the stepfather to Sebastian Rogers, disappeared for 17 hours, several days after his son disappeared. So what had happened is on February 26th, Chris was notified that Sebastian wasn't in his bed around 6:03 in the morning. Around 6:34, he calls into the dispatch line, it wasn't through 911. He calls Sumner County, a non-emergency Sumner County phone number, to report his stepson disappeared while he's allegedly in Memphis, Tennessee, at his job at the St. Jude's Project in Memphis. But it was at 6:30 in the morning. We're learning he didn't start his job until 7, but that's on a different topic at a different time. Because he has been cryptic in his alibi, basically it sounds like both Chris and Katie's alibi were they were sleeping. The oldest alibi in the book, right? I was home asleep, right? But what's really bothered me is the 17-hour trip. And we don't know exactly what day it happened on because, again, he won't give us any information. Out of all the interviews he has provided, social media and mainstream media, we still haven't ascertained the just basic information of this case. And so I've had to lean a lot on my audience to get information about it, and it's starting to lead me to bridges. Looking at where, we have to look at this. It's not that I want to look at this. We need to clear these areas because, let's face it, we don't know where he is, right? Their story isn't making sense. They're spending an awful lot of attention on people other than their son that's missing and stepson, because Chris never really claimed Sebastian, it sounds like. And so this is kind of what I'm looking for all the people that have been trying to help. We're trying to find bridges that go over water. Why? It's just something that, it's just a hunch. It's not that I've got any direct information that's leading me one place or another. It's just because I've talked to a lot of people from the military. I've talked to several people from the Navy, and it's just driving me to look at water aspects, when it comes to this. And so the only thing I can do is I have a hunch that it's in Sumner County somewhere. And my go-to place right now that I feel like Chris would be the most comfortable in that community is like in the White House in Gallatin area, more so than the Hendersonville area. And why do I feel that way? Well, it's because people that, if I'm looking at it from a lens that something happened to Sebastian Rogers and he's not in a good state, then people that don't have people in good states tend to frequent or go in places that they're comfortable in, that they know that they can have seclusion and privacy and things of that nature. You don't know that from places you've never been before. You're not going to be driving around with somebody in your car in grave condition, aimlessly driving. You're going to need to go to some place that is private and secure. So you're going to be a creature of a habit in a sense, where you're going to go to places that you're comfortable. And those are places that you know inside and out. And from my understanding is Chris graduated from, White House High School. And so that leads me to the White House and more into the Gallatin area where he grew up, because those are the places he would have went and hung out in places with friends. He may have had a favorite fishing hole, a favorite, hunting spot. But it just seems like that would be over in the Gallatin or the White House, Goodlettsville type of area, in my opinion. And so I'm looking in those places first for these like bridges and other areas that I think would be interesting. Anything that's going over water, I'm really paying close attention to, and places that are secluded. Bridges that probably aren't frequently traveled, that go over water, that are in these identified areas, are really places that I think might be a possibility. There's also places all along different roads that just have like parking lots that go right off into, secluded areas, and at night, is this really lit? So there's a lot of this all over the Gallatin and White House area. And so I'm hoping that people start, looking into some things and, finding out if there's possibilities of these areas. But what's leading me to the water predominantly is because we have to remember that Chris and Katie are Navy. This would be a comfort area for them, in my opinion. And so that's really why I'd like to look at, waterways and any type of bridging or roadway that go over these types of waterways, and looking for some desolate areas where there may be some patches that can be driven off, and go to a lake or other body of water. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot along the edges down here as well. So, I'm looking for specific things, but mostly I'm looking for places that wouldn't have a lot of traffic. But I'm having a hard time believing that if things are as my theory holds, again, it's just my theory. It's a working theory that's changed multiple times depending on new facts that come forth. But in my theory, it just seems like these areas really need to be, excluded. These things need to be excluded. We need to eliminate any areas of comfort in the stomping grounds of the people that were in and around this boy the closest. Because let's face it, he was sheltered. He was a sheltered kid. He didn't really have a lot of friends. He was autistic. He, according to his mom and stepfather, didn't have access to the internet. Removing a possibility of this, maybe a stranger danger type of thing, even though stranger danger is very rare, in the grand scheme of things. People don't realize a lot of the kidnappings and things like that are done by, family or people that are known to the abductee, so to speak, right? So sorry guys. Delilah was saying hi. Hey guys. She's been playing quite a bit today. She's been I've been kind of sick and under the weather, so she's been kind of cooped up in the house, which makes her a little more active. Yes. Hey, me and you. It's nice to see you. So I have been doing some additional work on Sebastian Rogers. Does these theories hold water? Are we looking for, that's proverbial, does it hold water? But literally, are we looking at waterways? Have we exhausted the waterway aspect? We know we have a lot of people on land, and, there's a few people willing to go out into the boats and look. But, I'm hoping that we can find strategic ways of looking for things. If something's really busy and has a lot of heavy traffic on it, it probably is not going to be conducive for what we're looking for, okay? This is a theory that means that Sebastian is not doing well, if you have not realized that. But you know what? That's the way law enforcement has been looking at this case for a significant amount of time, especially with them going into waterways, doing water searches, and landfill searches. That's not saying that they're looking for a person that is doing well. So I'm just trying to figure out if you guys know, this is kind of calling the Tennessee area, the Sumner County area residents. If you guys know of any of these areas that might be, that you would think maybe maybe you haven't thought about it in a while. Maybe it was a bridge that you and your friends used to jump off of into the water when you were younger, and this was a thing that you guys did. You guys got in trouble for it or something. You know what I'm saying? I just want people to just really start jogging their memories of any type of bridges and water over, bridges over water. That I really would like to hone in on those, especially ones that are in secluded areas that don't have a lot of traffic that would be known to the locals. I'm really looking for some help with that. If you guys have any of those help, any of that, please. I know you guys are writing stuff in chat, but I can't really see it after the fact. If you guys could send that to bullhornbetty@gmail.com, bullhornbetty@gmail.com, I would greatly appreciate it. But I really do think that we might be onto something here, and this kind of came to me by another military person saying, they're Navy. We need to, you really need to look at water. You really need to focus on water if they're in the Navy. And when I told that both of them, both mom and stepdad, were Navy trained and naval, I don't know if they were naval officer, I don't know. They were in the Navy though. That's when this person said, you really want to exclude all the water first, because of that would be their comfort zone. So that's when I started saying, okay, well, we might be off with the bridges, because it might just be someplace that he just pulled in and pulled back, if this theory holds water. But I'm thinking, what could it be? What could it be? And what would be the path of least resistance, And I really would like to identify all the bridges that could match these descriptions, not a lot of traffic, goes over water, something like that, known to the locals. If it hits all those boxes, those may be just something we may want to consider clearing or having somebody go out there to clear. So anyways, if you guys could help me with that, I greatly appreciate it. So I hope everybody is doing great. Again, we are covering the case of Sebastian Rogers. Again, he's the 15-year-old boy that disappeared from his home in Hendersonville, Tennessee, where he was there allegedly with only his mother. There have been some statements that make people believe Chris was also there, but the one thing that is leading me to believe that if he did come, he came later in the evening and wasn't there for the whole weekend because of several reasons. Nobody saw Chris's truck come or go that weekend on the surveillance or any of the neighbors' Ring doorbell cameras. So that's really what's leading me to believe that if he came, he would have had to come and say maybe an anonymous car that's unmarked down the road that was caught on a neighbor's camera. Just saying, but that's just an opinion. Anyways, guys, thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for getting some new information. If you guys have any ideas on bridges or waterways that we should look at, please send those over to bullhornbetty@gmail.com, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. Thank you so much. Rock it out with your coffee beans out. God bless.